Almost everyone I know has said some version of the same thing at some point, which is why do I keep attracting the same kind of toxic people? Why does this keep happening to me? You keep trying to break the pattern, but it's finding you anyway. And at some point, you start wondering if there's something about you that's drawing them in. Well, that's what this video is about, to help you understand the actual patterns so that you can break it. Because the reality is, toxic people don't just randomly show up in your life. There's usually something underneath the surface that's drawing them in. And until you identify what that is, you're going to keep repeating the same cycle. So let's talk about what's actually happening. And I'm going to be real with you because I've been there. I've had times where I looked around and I realized every person that I dealt with in the past was draining me, manipulating me, or just taking way more than what they were given. And my first thought was, why do I keep meeting people like this? But the better question was, why do I keep allowing them to stay? The first thing to understand is that toxic people are drawn to certain traits. And a lot of those traits aren't bad. They're actually good qualities that toxic people know how to exploit. So if you're empathetic, if you're natural givers or natural helpers, if you're someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, those are strengths. But to a toxic person, those are entry points. They see someone that's willing to listen to their problems, someone who's willing to help them fix things, someone who will overlook inconsistencies because they want to believe people can change and they use that against you. The pattern isn't attraction, it's access. They're skilled at identifying people who will give to them, whether that's attention, validation, or someone to fix their problems, or someone to blame when things go wrong. They're looking for that. And if you're someone who naturally provides it, you're going to keep ending up on their radar. But here's where it gets deeper. It's not just about them finding you, it's about you allowing them to stay. Because most of the time, the red flags show up early. You see the inconsistencies in what they say versus what they do. You notice that they only reach out when they need something. You feel drained after spending time with them. Your gut, it tells you that something is off, but you ignore it. You may have grew up in an environment where your needs, they came second, where you learned that love means tolerating bad behavior because that's just how they are. So now as an adult, when someone shows up with those same patterns, it doesn't register as a threat. It registers as familiar to you. And you probably heard the saying that you attract what you are, not what you want. And I think that applies here as well. If deep down you don't believe that you deserve better treatment and that you don't have clear boundaries, you're going to keep attracting people who take advantage of that because you're sending out signals that say, I'll accept this. So going back, think about the last toxic person that you've dealt with. When did you first get that feeling that something was off? Was it the first conversation? And how long did you stay after that? Because most people, they stay way longer because they tell themselves it's not that bad. Or maybe they think the person will change. But your intuition, it was giving you all the warning signs, but you still chose to stay because you didn't trust your intuition. Because the signs are usually there. We just talk ourselves out of believing them. They show up, they get comfortable, and they start taking more. And by the time you finally decide that you've had enough, they've already taken a lot from you. Then you remove them. You recover for a bit, and that cycle starts over with someone new because you never address why you ignore the red flags in the first place. So it's not about avoiding toxic people altogether because they're everywhere. It's about getting so solid in your boundaries and so clear on what you will and won't accept that they don't even show up. They don't get access. They don't get to stay long enough to drain you. They don't get the opportunity to manipulate you because you're not available for it anymore. And that starts with recognizing the signs early, not 6 months in when you're already attached, but in the beginning when your gut first tells you that something is off. And it usually starts way earlier than what you want to admit. They come on strong in the beginning, they get you hooked, they test boundaries early to see that you'll tolerate it. They create confusion so that you're constantly second guessing yourself. They center everything around themselves while somehow making you feel like you're the one being difficult. If you've been through this before, your body already knows what it looks like. But your mind, it overrides it because you want to believe this time will be different. But don't fall for it. If you're constantly having to manage someone's mood, explain basic respect, convince them how to treat you decently, that's not your person. Healthy dynamics don't require that much just to maintain baseline courtesy. And if you're used to having to work that hard just to be treated decently, you stop trusting the signals that tell you something's wrong. So you start to minimize it. You explain it away. You start prioritizing their feelings over your own peace without even realizing it. So now the focus isn't on their behavior, it's on how you can tolerate it better. You're still believing that if you just communicate better, give a little more, be a little more patient, they'll change. But they won't, because people don't change for someone they don't respect. And they don't respect people who tolerate poor treatment without consequences. It's time to break that cycle. Start listening to your gut the first time. Recognize that being kind doesn't mean being walked all over. Stop explaining away red flags because you want to see the good in people. Understand that boundaries are necessary. You shouldn't feel guilty about removing people who don't respect your boundaries. So, does that mean that you'll be alone? Maybe. And you may be asking, does that mean I might have to walk away from people before I have concrete proof that they're toxic? Absolutely. There's no need in waiting around to find out anymore. First sign you see, that's your chance to dodge the bullet. That's you finally valuing your peace more than being liked by someone who doesn't even like themselves. Look, God's not bringing toxic people into your life, but He is allowing you to see the pattern so that you can break it. And breaking it, it requires you to be honest about your part in it. What part of you still believes you have to earn decent treatment instead of expecting it as a standard? I'm telling you, once you stop being available for the things that deplete you, those toxic people, they stop sticking around. They might still show up at some point, but they won't stay because you're no longer the person that they can use. So stop asking why they keep showing up. They show up because you keep the door open. The question is, why haven't you closed that door yet? Every time someone shows up with that familiar energy, close that door immediately. What are you so afraid of losing that you're willing to lose yourself instead? You have to decide that your peace matters more than being available to people who drain you. It's just not worth it. So let me know what red flags that you saw but ignored. Drop it below. And if this gave you clarity, smash that like button. I'll see you next time.